What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Anthony. In this video, I'm doing my top 10 Christmas movies. And I know a lot of you know all these movies in my top 10 list, but you just don't know the order that I put them in. So here we go. Number 10 on my list is 1988's Ernest Saves Christmas. I absolutely love this movie for what it is. It's a fantastic comedy movie, and basically stars Jim Varney as Ernest P. Worrell, who everyone has known and grown to love. And basically it chronicles Ernest's attempt to find a replacement for an aging Santa Claus. From the start of the movie up until the end, it's very one note. It's quick, it's simple, it's funny, and Ernest does what he can to save Christmas. The aspects of this are great. Seeing the reindeer scenes are great, and the whole idea of how someone changes to Santa Claus, and then the underlining factor of how Ernest helps this young teenager out trying to cope with life, and how she doesn't believe in Christmas, or she doesn't believe in anything, and then her whole world changes, and how she doesn't believe in Santa Claus or the entire happiness or the Christmas spirit. There are a lot of great memorable scenes in this, and not many give this movie credit that it deserves, because not many have seen it. Listen, it's Ernest. You cannot not love Ernest. I grew up on it, and it's one of those characters where that you're going to love. And with this movie, you do that. You know this movie for what it is. You know this movie because it's fantastic, and it's such a great comedy Christmas movie. So number 10 on my list is Ernest Saves Christmas. Number 9 on my list is The Muppet Christmas Carol. Yes, number 9 is The Muppet Christmas Carol. You heard that correctly. And this movie is based off of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And, it's done really well. It's fantastic. It's one of my favorite renditions of the story of A Christmas Carol. The interesting thing about this is that all they did was put in the Muppets that everyone knows and loves. Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge was really good, and seeing a prolific actor like Michael Caine play Scrooge in a Muppet movie was really good. There's a lot of great comedy in this as well. Seeing how the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future come in, and how everything's portrayed is good, and how how everything was put together was really good. It's a great feel-good movie. It's a great movie. And the story of A Christmas Carol has been done so many times. It's said that The Muppet Christmas Carol actually follows the true book by Charles Dickens, and that any other rendition of it that came before or after does not follow the same story arc or criteria that this story is based off of. So The Muppet Christmas Carol does follow the exact story of A Christmas Carol to a T, which is really good, which is why people love this rendition of it. It's great, it's fun, and it's definitely a holiday feel-good Christmas movie. I enjoy it for what it is, and I always watch it during the Christmas season because it's so good and it's so much fun. If you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. And if you have, young kids out there who love the Muppets, show them this movie, and I'm pretty sure this movie during the holiday season will be a favorite of theirs too. So number 9 on my list is The Muppet Christmas Carol. Number 8 on my list is 1996's Jingle All The Way. Yes, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Sinbad movie, where they play two rival fathers during the Christmas holiday season, where they go out on Christmas Eve to find their sons a Turbo Man doll, which is the hottest toy during Christmas. This movie is fantastic. It's fun. It's in your face right from the beginning. Arnold Schwarzenegger is great, and Sinbad in this is really good. I love Sinbad as a comedian. I love him as an actor, and he's very funny at what he does. He knows how to deliver the comedic lines to a point where you wouldn't even expect any other comedian to do so, and that works so well, especially when he works alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sinbad, puts in those quick remarks, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger comes back with a punchline. Or Arnold Schwarzenegger does a quick remark, and Sinbad does the punchline. It's great, and it's just fun. And the great thing about this is that it feels like a holiday movie. It is a holiday movie. It's a Christmas movie. And you see certain, cameo appearances by other actors in this movie. And, Phil Hartman is great in this movie. And the movie was produced by Chris Columbus, who directed Home Alone. And this movie is directed by Brian Levant. So it's really fun. Schwarzenegger is great in a comedy. Sinbad is always good in a comedy. And seeing them do what they love for their sons is great. Everything is good. There's nothing bad about this movie at all, because it's gained a cult following since it's come out. It really didn't do too good at the box office when it came out, because at the time people saw Schwarzenegger as an action star and didn't really see him in a so-called comedy movie, especially during the holiday season. But this is a Christmas movie that you're going to love if you haven't seen it. And I'm pretty sure most of you, if not all of you, have seen it. So, which is a really, really good thing. So, number 8 on my list is Jingle All The Way. Number 7 on my list is the 1994 movie The Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen. Yes, the first movie is fantastic. And the play on words, the Santa Claus, it's not spelled C-L-A-U-S, it's spelled C-L-A-U-S-E. And for the longest time, I always thought that's how Santa Claus was spelled, but then I realized that it's a play on words for this movie. Never did I realize that, but I guess that since this movie has been out since 1994, that's what people perceive of how the spelling of Santa Claus is, just because it's based off of a Tim Allen movie. It basically tells the story of Tim Allen, who plays the father, and he kills Santa Claus because Santa Claus slipped off of the roof of his house. He puts on his jacket, and basically it reads, whoever puts on the jacket becomes the new Santa Claus. And over the course of the movie, and basically it goes on where he tries to do everything he can to, not be Santa Claus, but then he realizes that this is his job now and he has to play Santa Claus. And seeing the transformation of Tim Allen from the normal, character that he plays as Scott Calvin to Santa Claus is really good, because there's a scene where he orders a lot of stuff for lunch and he just keeps eating and eating and eating, but he's never full. He puts on all this weight, but he doesn't have any, physical ailments to go with it. So it's really good. It's really fun, and it's a heartwarming story. It's a fun story. It's a story for the whole family that that anyone can get to watch and anyone can enjoy and love. I love this movie, but it did receive mixed reviews, but it's become a cult Christmas classic since its release. It did garner 2 more sequels, the Santa Claus 2 and the Santa Claus 3. 2 was really good. Basically tells a story of how he finds a new wife or needs a Mrs. Claus. And 3 basically tells the story of how Jack Frost, the villain in the movie played by Martin Short, wants to take over Christmas and turn the North Pole into his own Christmas village. But the first one is great. It's fantastic, and it's at a time in Tim Allen's career where he was going through some hard times. He was arrested here and there, but then all of a sudden he did this, and all of a sudden he did Toy Story. So Tim Allen's reputation started to climb and started to rise again, and he was a sought after actor in Hollywood, and Santa Claus really helped him a lot. And it's one of those movies where it's fun to watch, because it's one of those holiday movies where you can't help but watch it because it's that good. And it's that good because it's really, like I said, it's heartwarming, it's touching, and the way Tim Allen does comedy is really, really good. It's very underrated, but it's really, really good. So number 7 on my list is The Santa Claus. Now, some of you might disagree with where I put this movie on my list, especially at number 6. But number 6 on my list is 1990's Home Alone. Yes, I know. Whoa, Home Alone's number 6. Why is that higher? Because there's better Christmas movies out there that are higher than Home Alone. If you don't know the story of Home Alone, then you haven't seen this movie ever, because it basically tells the story of a boy who's home alone because his family forgot him after they went on a Christmas vacation, and he needs to stop 2 burglars Harry and Marv, the wet bandits, played by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, from stealing everything that is in his house. The lead up to this movie and the lead up to this story was really good. It's very comedic. It's very, very well done. It's directed by Chris Columbus. And the reason how Chris Columbus got this movie was because he was actually supposed to direct National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation starring Chevy Chase, but he couldn't work with Chevy Chase because it was very difficult to work with him. So what happened? John Hughes, who wrote Home Alone and Christmas Vacation, basically gave Chris Columbus the script to Home Alone, which is how Chris Columbus directed Home Alone. So it's really interesting how things happen, and seeing this movie being directed by Chris Columbus and written by John Hughes is one of those 1-2 punches where you know the story's going to be good. Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McAllister is really good. It's really well done. He's this young boy who, is an adult, so to speak, but he does adult things in a different way where you wouldn't expect. And seeing Joe Pesci in a comedic role was really tremendous and really fun to see, because he's always known as this Goodfellas gangster guy who drops F-bombs here and there. And then Daniel Stern, who is just, this skinny old lanky guy who adds more comedic flair and factor to this. And between, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, they, work well off each other. And the intricate ways that, Macaulay Culkin's character Kevin booby traps his house is great, and it's just comedic. But you know that half the time that the stuff that Kevin did was going to be, they should have been dead by then. The hair on fire, stepping on the nail, stepping on, falling back, back breaks, bone broken. It's just what it is. This movie did come out around Christmas time in 1990, and it became a huge, smashing success at the box office. It was number one, I believe, for close to 12 weeks. And then, it was good. It came out in November of 1990, so it's definitely around the Christmas time season. And being number one for 12 weeks means something. This movie has gained a substantial cult following because it's perfect for what it is. It's definitely a Christmas movie. And it's one of those movies where it's fun to watch and it's great to watch. This movie really is good for what it is. So seeing an 8-year-old boy defend his home against 2 burglars is great. And it's something that everyone wanted to do, evidently. If you haven't seen Home Alone, you're missing out because, wow, I don't know what else to say. But hey, this movie did garner a sequel. It was called Home Alone 2: Lost in New York, which was on par with the first, but slightly smaller of a letdown. I don't want to get into why or how, but then there were more movies after Home Alone 2, which didn't feature Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McAllister or any of the name of the McAllister family, except one sequel, I believe, which I forgot which one it was. But 1 and 2 are standalone on this time, but 1, Home Alone, is really, really good, which is why it's number 6 on my list. And I'm pretty sure I'm getting a lot of shit for it because it's number 6 on my list. So like I said, number 6 on my list is Home Alone. Number 5 on my list is the 1983 Christmas movie, A Christmas Story. Yes, that beloved movie that you all know where the young boy, Ralphie, wants a Red Ryder BB gun. And that's it. That's all he wants, is a Red Ryder BB gun for Christmas. It stars Melinda Dillon, Darren McGavin, and Peter Billingsley, who Peter Billingsley, you may know, starred in Elf. If if you've seen that movie. And this movie is directed by Bob Clark. And if that name does sound familiar, it's because Bob Clark directed the 1974 movie Black Christmas. Whoa. Mind blown, right? Mind blown. He goes from directing Black Christmas in 1974 to almost 9 years later, he directs A Christmas Story, right? Who knew? This movie is fun, and it basically works off of how, when you're a little kid, you want certain things for Christmas, and you don't know if you're going to get it. The whole lead up to what he wants and how he gets it is great. This movie has been seen by everyone because TBS and TNT play 24 hours of A Christmas Story, 12 consecutive airings from Christmas Eve to Christmas Day. So everyone has seen this movie. No one has not seen this movie. And if you have not seen this movie, let me know in the comment section down below why, and why haven't you checked it out. And basically, like I said, I don't want to give anything away, but this BB gun is the drive of what, Ralphie wants. He wants this BB gun because it's the toy that he wants. And of course, we all wanted that toy when we were younger. We wanted that one thing that we wanted, and we got it. Basically, all the millennials want their iPhone, this and that. Or my generation, we wanted video games. We wanted certain action figures, And that's what we got. We got those action figures. And it was the best day of our lives when we sat up and woke up on Christmas morning and got what we wanted under the tree, or, sitting on that living room table. Boom, our Christmas presents. It was great. It was fun. And seeing Ralphie go through what he goes through and how he technically, kind of matures in a way through this whole movie really, really works. Because if he doesn't, then it brings down the whole movie, so to speak. And seeing Bob Clark direct this movie was really good. And I'm pretty sure none of you knew that Bob Clark directed this movie and Black Christmas in 1974. So seeing him direct the horror movie and then a family movie 9 years later was good. I would say that, he picked the right character. There are so many memorable scenes in this, like the leg lamp. When the leg lamp comes into the home, the father says, "Oh, fragile, must be Italian." And the wife's like, "No, I think that says fragile." It's just really good. And the father just has this infatuation with this, leg lamp. And it's just great. And everyone has this fascination of certain things, Ralphie wants the BB gun. The father's infatuated with the leg lamp. All the mother wants is rest and relaxation. And the brother just, wants to be a kid. That's it, So this movie is really good for what it is because it's fun for the whole family. I can't say any bad things about this movie because it's really, really good. So number 5 on my list is 1983's A Christmas Story. Number 4 on my list is 1988's Die Hard. Yes, Die Hard has made the list for my top Christmas movies. Because that's what it is. It's a Christmas movie. It takes place on Christmas Eve, which makes it a Christmas movie. I don't want to hear anything or what anyone says, oh, it's not a Christmas movie. It is a Christmas movie. The whole building is decorated in Christmas, and it takes place during Christmas Eve. So I don't want to hear anything about how it's not a Christmas movie. It basically tells the story of John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, who visits his wife in LA. He's a New York police detective, and he goes to LA to meet his wife for Christmas. All the while, he gets caught up in a terrorist takeover of the Nakatomi Plaza. And what these so-called terrorists want basically is something that's in this building. And John McClane has to do what John McClane does and save the day. This movie is filled with action, filled with so many puns, and filled with so many great Bruce Willis, John McClane one-liners that it's just memorable. And the way Bruce Willis portrays John McClane is great. And the way Alan Rickman portrays Hans Gruber is really, really good. But when Hans Gruber actually portrays this character of this villain, he's so laid back. He's just this, pristine American-looking person in a suit, and you wouldn't think he's the villain, but he is the villain. And when the characters of John McClane and Hans Gruber meet for the first time, Alan Rickman puts on this, American accent, so to speak, of the whole so-called cowboy of what, Bruce Willis calls it. And it's interesting. It's a twist, but, how doesn't John McClane know that this guy is the bad guy? Well, he does. So things start escalating from then on, and things actually make things, it's just crazy. The action scenes are over the top. It's one of the best Christmas action movies that I can think of because, it's directed by John McTiernan. And even though this first one is set during Christmas, the subsequent sequel, Die Hard 2, Die Harder, is also set during Christmas, but this time in Chicago. So, hey, it's like you could say that part 2 is kind of the same as part 1. Well, it's not. Part 1 stands alone because it's just funny with comedy. It's great in action. And it has one-liners like yippee-ki-yay. I don't want to, I'm not going to finish it because you exactly know what I'm talking about. And it's it's fun. It's a fun movie, which is why It's categorized as one of the greatest action films ever made. And, there are some who say it is and some who say it isn't. Or some who say that this is a Christmas movie and some who say it's not. Well, it's not Christmas until you see Hans Gruber fall from Nakatomi Plaza. So number 4 on my list is Die Hard. Number 3 on my list is 1954's White Christmas, starring Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney. It basically tells the story of a successful song and dance group who become romantically involved with a sister act and team up to save a failing Vermont inn from their former commanding general. The movie is filled with a lot of musical acts that we've all come to know and love. And the interesting thing about that is, like I said, I'm not a fan of musicals, but this one I make an exception because it's really, really good. It's Bing Crosby, it's Danny Kaye, it's Rosemary Clooney. And if you don't know, Rosemary Clooney is the aunt to George Clooney. So George Clooney's aunt is Rosemary Clooney. It features songs from Irving Berlin and a new rendition, a new version of White Christmas from Bing Crosby. And the reason that this movie is so substantial for its time, especially when it came out in 1954, is that it's just filled with great, great emotion. It's filled with great love. And White Christmas is one of the biggest selling Christmas songs of all time. And it still stands today. And Bing Crosby, he's one of those actors where he's very underrated, but he was known for more his singing. There's a lot of great song and dance numbers, and this movie was filmed in Technicolor and so-called the new, released in Vista Vision. If you don't know what they are, check it out. It'll give great detail and great explanation of what those things are. The great thing about this movie is that it's a feel-good movie, it's a fun movie, and it's just a lovable movie. The movie is exactly 2 hours long. It's no more, less, or longer than that. And if you haven't seen this movie, which I'm pretty sure most of you haven't, because I have a lot of followers who haven't seen old-time movies like this, but if you have seen it, let me know what you think, because this is a great, great Christmas movie because it takes place during the Christmas time, during the Christmas season, and it's just a feel-good movie. So number 3 on my list is 1954's White Christmas. Number 2 on my list is 1989's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Listen, Christmas Vacation, starring Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, is one of the most exciting Christmas movies ever. It's written by John Hughes, so you know it's funny, and which is why it's funny. And it's basically based off of how a family gets together during Christmas to try and not lose their shit. It's just great. There's a lot of punchlines, there's a lot of one-liners, and this movie is great because Chevy Chase makes this movie what it is. It's just pure fun, it's pure interesting, how everything's done, and him hanging the Christmas lights to how, he does certain things about going a Christmas tree and how he wants to be a part of his big bonus that he wants from his job. And we all know what that big bonus is because I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this movie and everyone loves this movie. The way the movie starts is great because they go on a trek to find the Griswold family Christmas tree. And then from then on, they go to the factor of how Clark tries to keep the family together and not lose their shit. But there's a scene where he does lose his shit and everyone just looks on and is just flabbergasted at how crazy he's become. I can't say anything bad about this movie. And seeing John Hughes write this movie, which John Hughes actually should have directed it, and like I said, for when I talk about Home Alone, Chris Columbus was actually set to direct Christmas Vacation, but he had a hard time working with Chevy Chase, so he left. So John Hughes then gave him the script to Home Alone, which then led Chris Columbus to direct Home Alone, and which became a big hit the following year in 1990, since this movie, Christmas Vacation, was released in 1989. And like A Christmas Story and like Home Alone and like all these other Christmas movies that I've been talking about, it's always on during the Christmas season. It never was on during the Christmas season because, I guess National Lampoon Christmas Vacation didn't find that cult following, but it found the cult following close to almost 20-some years later. It wasn't a quick cult following when it came out, but then since then it's garnered a following. I absolutely love this movie around the holiday season, and I definitely watch it every single year around Christmas. So number 2 on my list is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Now my number 1 Christmas movie is from 1946. I'm pretty sure most of you are saying 1946, it's so long ago. What could you possibly have, that is this old in some opinions. Well, the movie's called It's a Wonderful Life. I absolutely love and adore this movie for what it is. Frank Capra directed a tremendous movie, and if you don't know who Frank Capra is, then you don't know movies, or you don't know what you're missing. Being a filmmaker like myself, you have to know who Frank Capra is. You have to know the eccentric way of how he did filmmaking, and seeing how James Stewart played George Bailey, who is a man who gives up on his dreams to help others, and with his imminent suicide, basically he calls out to his guardian angel. And it's interesting because Clarence then shows how George has touched the lives of others, and how different a life would be if his wife Mary and the community of Bedford Falls did not have him. So you could say it's like a Christmas Carol, you could say it's the playoff of that kind of, story, but it's different. The movie is great because it's such a heartwarming, heartfelt story. He goes from being someone who just gives up on his hopes and dreams, which I'm sure many of us have had done, and then all of a sudden he finds that there's true meaning in something that he didn't know that he had. And the movie stars James Stewart, Donna Reed, and Lionel Barrymore. And the cast that it has is tremendous. It's very memorable for its lines. It's very memorable for its scenes. And it's always on during Christmas time, because that's what it is. It's a Christmas fantasy drama movie. It's from 1946. And if you made a movie like this today, It's a Wonderful Life, it wouldn't, come off as this heartwarming, feel-good movie, because a lot of certain things would be forced into the story, certain things would be forced out of the story. But this is the original Christmas, movie that I enjoy and love. It's a Wonderful Life has no other antiquatics about what a movie like this is. And even though the movie came out to disappointing sales, had some negative reviews, within the time and since its release since 1946, it's become a big cult following hit. And it's like I said, it's a great movie because it's James Stewart, it's Frank Capra, and if you put those two actor and directors together, you're going to get a fantastic movie. And that's what you got. You got a fantastic movie which plays on how someone just doesn't care anymore, and then moves on, and all of a sudden someone helps them realize that they are cared for, and how things would be different if they weren't there, but how things are different that they are there. So this is a feel-good movie during the holiday season. It's a touching movie. You're going to cry. It is a tearjerker, and I love movies like that, and I'm not afraid to admit, you can cry during Christmas movies, and I do. It's a Wonderful Life is one of those movies where it always gets me in the end, because even though I know the ending, it's just so good and so well done. I absolutely love this movie, which is why it's number 1 on my list. So let's recap my top 10 Christmas movies. Number 10, Ernest Saves Christmas. Number 9, The Muppet Christmas Carol. Number 8, Jingle All The Way. Number 7, The Santa Claus. Number 6, Home Alone. Number 5, A Christmas Story. Number 4, Die Hard. Number 3, White Christmas. Number 2, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And number 1, It's a Wonderful Life. So let me know in the comment section below, what are your top 10 Christmas movies? And if you agree with my list, and if you would change the order of what they are, let me know. I'm very curious to know what your answers are, and to find out what your top 10 for Christmas movies are. And be sure you click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for new videos on my channel. And follow Marchio Productions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And follow me, Anthony, on Instagram and Twitter at misterfilmstock. I'll leave a link to all the social media accounts in the description box below. You guys can check it out and follow along. I'm Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.